Hey, Bliss Makers! It's time for your Leo Full Moon 2023 report. This Leo full moon happens at 16 degrees of Leo. It's occurring at 1:29 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it happens on February 5th, 2023. So the full moon has a few specific characteristics as far as how we work with it within the cycle. Because it is the culmination of the waxing phase of the cycle, it is a time of completion, of manifestation. It's when everything that we've been taking action toward during the period between the new moon and the full moon sort of comes together and produces something physical, something tangible. So that's why we consider looking at our manifestations under the full moon. It is a time of illumination. It brings light to the situation that we've been creating over the past either a couple of weeks if you're working within the 1 month cycle, or if you're working in the 1 year cycle, then in the past 6 months. It's a time of almost orgasmically birthing everything that you've been working toward into some sort of, again, physical manifestation. It's all of those possibilities set at the new moon made into some kind of reality. Leo is the astrological energy ruled by the sun. It's often represented by the cosmic lion. It's very heart-centered, generous. Leo can be very open with itself. It's ruled by the sun, so there is this sense of illumination and recognition. Performative energy really likes to have a light shown upon itself, standing in the spotlight. It's also very brave, courageous, and very strong, this energy. It can help power us through some of those darker moments by bringing light into those dark spaces. And Leo energy, which is traditionally the ruler of the 5th house of the astrological wheel, is very creative and very playful. So it's not one to really take itself too seriously. It's more about really just enjoying the vitality of life. The Sabian symbol for this astrological moon is volunteer church choir makes social event of rehearsal. And so this speaks to Leo's performative nature and of its generous and creative nature. Basically, under this full moon, you may find yourself wanting to give of yourself in creative and expressive ways that also allow you to connect with your community. Themes of balance show up in this notion of work and play, also of spiritual reverence and earthly pleasure through that social communion. It's a time to give of yourself to whatever lifts you up, and to do so without any agenda or compensation. This is a volunteer group. Be open to the unexpected opportunities that come from bridging the binaries through full spectrum living. So we're bringing this sense of it doesn't have to be either or, getting out of that binary thinking into a more inclusive, how can we find our own unique place on the full spectrum that feels aligned for us and that allows us to have a little bit of everything that we need. So let's talk a bit about the cosmic weather surrounding this full moon in Leo, just to help sort of bring the story together for us. So the first thing we can look at is that the sun and moon make a T-square with Uranus in Taurus. And what that can show us, that positioning specifically can show us, is that when we look at an opposition, it shows us a gap between two binaries, something that needs bridging. And when we have a T-square with that opposition, we get a clue on how to consider bridging that gap, on how we might, it's basically a lens or a framework to give us some information on how we might find the tools we need to bridge that gap. So with this outer and inner experiences being diametrically opposed, we might find that opening to new ways of bringing balance and beauty into our lives can be incredibly helpful for us. It's an opportunity to shake things up, even if we feel like all is going well, because Uranus is always here to remind us that disrupting the status quo now and then is really good for shocking us into new actions and new perspectives. And these almost always lead us to new equilibrium. We also have the full moon in Leo opposing Saturn in Aquarius. Now, this is a slightly weaker opposition because it's 10 degrees apart, so it's on its way out. We're losing some of the binary tension in this opposition, but it is still there. And basically it signifies a gap between our desire to give expression to our inner truths, which is that moon energy in Leo, while building new foundations for the ways in which we are moving through and experiencing life, and how we are flowing with it, how we're rebelling against it, how we're creating innovative ways to be who we are in ever-evolving expressions of ourselves. We can also look at the moon's aspect with Chiron and Aries. And so this aspect is a trine. It's a supportive aspect. And this gives us an opportunity to take some conscious action toward the tending of our core wounds that aligns with a fuller and more creative expression of our wants, our needs, our fears, and our intuitions. So these things are kind of working collaboratively at this time. Another way of looking at this is if you give yourself an opportunity to be really honest with yourself, with what you truly want to express and experience in your life so that you can move forward with the salving of those wounds that never quite heal. They're always sort of with us, but that give us the gift of wisdom and perseverance in our lives. Both understanding our needs and, of course, making them known, and then actively addressing our wounds are mutually beneficial at this moon. So any work you do with one will further the other and vice versa. It's kind of like a bonus gift from the cosmos, so take advantage while you can. Next we have Venus in Pisces, which is squaring, in a very tight square, Mars in Gemini. Tension between the binaries, yet again. Venus and Mars are feminine and masculine energies. So this is an opportunity to role play out the tension. And it should break through to something more balanced and collaborative. However, if you do get caught up in the drama of it all, it could end up in a pile of ashes. So do be aware of that tension showing up in your life through any variation of masculine and feminine energy. It can show up in any number of ways. So just be on the lookout for that. And remember to try to openly acknowledge the tension, to work through it with the courage and the bravery of this Leo moon energy. And that should bring you through to a new sense of flow and ease and growth. Now we look at Jupiter in Aries, which is opposing Ceres in Libra. So basically, this opposition is asking you, what's keeping you from feeling truly nourished in your partnerships? Are you taking up too much space and smothering, or on the other end of that spectrum, neglecting your other? Are you playing too small and not showing up in advocacy of yourself in your relationships? It can go either way. Jupiter is very much about expansion. Ceres is very much about nourishment. So there's this sense of needing to find some expansive action to really create that sense of nourishment in our relationships. Consider recalibration in all of your relationships and partnerships in order to initiate collaborations that will feed all parties involved. So here's the gist of it all. Beneath this full moon, you're being asked to look at how your intentions have manifested for you. Consider your new moon Aquarius intentions, which were made a couple of weeks ago, as well as those made at the last new moon in Leo, which was last July. Consider the outcomes and consequences of your actions through the lens of how aligned your inner and outer landscapes are at this time. And you might look specifically at how you're showing up in relationships. All of this can offer some powerful healing to help us move forward in new and more evolved ways. And the tarot card for this Leo full moon is the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles just waltzes right onto stage beneath this Leo full moon to remind you of your sovereignty over your material experience. You want beauty, you want balance, you want security. You can make it happen. You're in charge. However, any ruler worth their station will tell you it's a good idea to also consider the consequences to the collective as you set out to satisfy your own desires. Be sure that you're making choices that balance a positive outcome for yourself and for others. And that will create the most fecund and thriving empire. And this card actually really aligns well with this moon's cosmic weather, which speaks to bridging those binary gaps by disrupting the status quo and courageously advocating for yourself while also supporting those around you with a generosity of spirit. And for those of you who really like to explore your relationship to the moon cycle through journaling, I've created this journal opportunity for you under this Leo full moon. You might want to set aside some time to journal about the ways you're showing up in relationship, and that includes romantic, professional, sexual, familial, and any other kind of relationships that you are currently engaged in. You can ask yourself, are you speaking up for yourself, for your true needs and desires? Are you advocating for what's important for you? Are you setting boundaries? And also, are you upholding those boundaries? Do you engage with your partners as equals? Do you demand too much or too little at any given time? And if so, are there triggers around those events? Where can you shake things up and disrupt your destructive patterns to reframe yourself according to your own aspirations, rather than continuing to operate from old conditioning that wasn't yours in the first place? And that's a really big, important question that is great during this full moon in Leo, but is really an awesome question to return to time and again. Lastly, after all of that mental reflection, be sure to give yourself time to explore how it all feels for you and what emotions come up as you do this exploration. And if you're really interested in continuing to explore your relationship with the moon and her cycles, consider joining our Moon Meets community. Moon Meets are a monthly virtual gathering in which we connect and or reconnect with the moon cycles as she travels through the astrological wheel. We meet in sacred space and supportive community where we really get to hold space for each other as we learn how to make the most of the cycle's cosmic weather. We set intentions, we gather support of the moon's phases for manifesting them, and then we receive divine guidance through the wisdom of the tarot. So there are 3 ways that you can explore this. You can join the community, and it's a free community at experimentsinbliss.com. Once you're registered, you get access to the community page where we post about the cosmic weather and the different moon phases. You can also attend the monthly Moon Meet, which is a virtual Zoom gathering. We also have an opportunity for you to share your experience in that Moon Meet community page. We like to create a safe space, sacred space, where you can find more support to make your life journey more blissful. So that's it for this Leo full moon, Bliss Makers. I hope it is a magical moment for you. And I'm sending you lots of love. Bye.